wrapped around your soul with no control. You can't breathe when you're drowning underwater. There's so much water. I'll run, I'll hide. Darkness always clouds my mind. When I look behind, it's moving closer every time. I can't pretend that I have a strong defense. 'Cause darkness, my old friend, you will get me in the end. See you at the end. At the end. Can you feel it wrapped around your soul with no control? You can't breathe when you're drowning underwater. There's so much water. I can't pretend that I have a strong defense. 'Cause darkness, my old friend, you will get me in the end. See you at the
What's going on, folks? What's going on? Will Stewart here with another THFC rant. How we doing tonight? Hello. 안녕하세요 for my Korean friends and everyone else that has joined us tonight. My lighting looks a little blown out, but that's okay. Yeah, so anyway, how are we doing? Who do we got here in the chat? Mr. K is here. Who else is here? Eunice is here. Mexico Spurs SC was also here. Am I guessing that Bob was here? Because he said evening, Bob. What's going on, gentlemen? What's going on? I'm doing well. Dan N is here. Who else is here? If you're here, don't lurk. Just say hello in the chat. Type in a hello. Alejandro, big up Will and everyone else. Thanks for joining tonight. Thanks for joining. We got more than that. There's 11 people watching. 11 people watching. And our mystery viewer on Twitch is not watching tonight. Holy cow. What's going on with that? Bob was here earlier, but he like 3 hours ago, I think. Yeah, he probably got on and made some comments when I first made the stream go live. We've got Mr. Bawaji, and Cody Mack, Joseph Cahill. Lamella 5-year extension announced to make him top earner at the club. I hope you're trolling me, Joseph. I hope you're trolling me. All right, so tonight, let's get started on this presentation, and then we'll bring some people on to talk about it. So tonight we are talking about Jose. He's part of the last 5 managers. Versus, I guess this would be the other 4. Right, the other 4 managers previous to Jose. Yeah. So has Jose bottled it, right? It's been a common thing here lately, right? On different things. And yeah. Well, let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. So here's my sources down there at the bottom of the page. You can see that I pulled in this data from the EPL website. Some of it came off Wikipedia. I had to use Wikipedia in order to get some of the exact start and stop dates that these managers had so that I could go through. Some of it, from the stuff from the EPL website, I had to go in and count manually. I also used a site called topspurs.com, which had a bunch of different things, different types of stats. So in this system here, what are we going to be looking at? We're going to be comparing the first 38 matches, right? The PPM, so points per match of the first 38 matches, win percentage for all competitions, win percentage for the league, and then points per match for all competitions. And each section has 5 points. So the max you can get is for 5th, or 5 points, and the least amount that you can get is 1 point. And so the scoring system is, if you had the best stat for that, you get 5 points. And then 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. So the first 38 matches, and then points per match for those first 38 matches. So we've got Jose Mourinho. His first 38 matches, he has 67 points. Pochettino had, in his first 38 matches, he had 64 points. Tim Sherwood only had 28 matches, so that's all that we could really judge him on. And he had 42 points. Andre Villas-Boas, otherwise known as AVB, in his first 38 matches, he had 72 points. And then Harry Redknapp in his first 38 matches had 68 points. And that goes into the points per match. So that's based off wins and draws. Obviously 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. And we've got Jose Mourinho. His points per match in his first 38 matches was 1.76. Pochettino at 1.68. Tim Sherwood at 1.5. AVB at 1.89. And Harry Redknapp at 1.78. So you can see there that the order is that AVB had the best stats, so he gets 5 points. Harry Redknapp gets 4. Jose Mourinho gets 3. Pochettino gets 2, and Tim Sherwood gets 1 for their first run of matches. The next slide here is winning percentage, all competitions, and winning percentage for the league. So for all competitions, which is the top section there, you've got Jose Mourinho with 84 matches, 45 wins, and 53.57%. Mauricio Pochettino with 293 matches, 159 wins, with a 54.27%. Tim Sherwood with 28 matches and 14 wins at 50%. AVB at 80 matches and 44 wins with 55%. Harry Redknapp with 198 matches and 98 wins at 49.49%. And then wins in the league. So this is league only, the Premier League only. Jose Mourinho at 55 matches and 27 wins at 49.09%. Mauricio Pochettino with 203 matches in the league, 114 wins, and a winning percentage of 56.15. Sherwood with 22 matches in the league, 13 wins and 59%. Andre AVB, 54 matches, 29 wins, 53.7%. Harry Redknapp with 144 matches and 71 wins. So here's where you get into the conundrum of the league, right? And especially the less matches you have and the more wins you have, the easier it is to get really good numbers. So then you've got PPM for all competitions. So points per match for all competitions. You got Jose Mourinho. For all of his competitions, he is averaging right now 1.81 points per match. Pochettino at 1.84. Sherwood at 1.64. AVB at 1.9. And Harry Redknapp at 1.74. So now we're going to show you the winner and show you who added up all the points. Jose Mourinho totals 13 points in total. I ranked him number 3 simply for the fact that he tied with Harry Redknapp, and because he has such fewer games, even one single win would bring him above Harry Redknapp in the points total. So I figured that gives him the tiebreaker. Mauricio Pochettino comes in second with 16 points. Tim Sherwood in 5th place with 10 points. AVB with 23 points comes in at the number 1. And Harry Redknapp with 13 points as well in at number 4. So what do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that? Let me get up here in the chat and find out what you guys have been saying. Cody says, have a good show. He's going to watch back tomorrow. Hopefully you stuck around for at least that part of it, because that was really the nuts of it. 3 a.m. in London. Everyone is asleep. Can't come online. That's all right. Same here. He's in Ireland. Well, thank you guys for staying up late for us. Stats of managers from the past can't really be compared too well. Teams are different. The expectations, the competition, clubs they face, etc. I know people like to, but still. Very relevant and interesting stats. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Surely the only stat that matters is how many trophies each manager has won. Well, then they would all be the same, except for Harry Redknapp, right? If we measure by trophies, only then Ramos is better than every other manager we've had after him. Yeah. Slight difference between Ramos and Mourinho. I agree. So you're telling me that Ramos is better than Pochettino? You wouldn't call Ramos a winner, but Mourinho, yes. I'm talking about Mourinho. Well, where's the link to come on? It should be in the chat, Dan. I'll throw it in there again. There's the link to come on if you guys want to come on. You have to make a cake first. Stats in order to finish it off with icing. Trophy is a trophy. Shouldn't be scorned at. That's true. Good vibes. All right. So yeah, the reason why I did this is because you guys you got this picture floating around Twitter, right? You guys been seeing this floating around Twitter? And it's really kind of deceiving because it doesn't give you a whole picture, right? This is Premier League only, and there's people in here, if you see like Sherwood, who obviously came in last in the statistics that I have because it's a more well-rounded, there's a multiple avenues, multiple angles to look at it. You know, he came, basically they're saying that he's the best Spurs manager, which is obviously not true since he only had 28 games before he got sacked when we brought in Poch. Scott Poch rolling in at number 2, which I think he also came in number 2 in my list. But surprisingly enough, AVB came in at number 1. AVB came in at number 1. But yeah, so that's why this type of stat is really deceiving. You know, you can't just go off of one little deal here. So I took 5 of those, averaged them out, and came up with a deal. So do you think that Jose is bottling it? No, I think he's fared pretty well, being the number 3rd most successful manager out of the last 5 with only about 80-something competitions total. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and bring Dan into the show. We'll bring Dan into the show. We'll get this branding here out of the way. What's going on, Dan?
What's going on? What's up, Will? How you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Sure, anytime.
Yeah. I thought that little presentation you put together was pretty interesting. I think it's interesting that AVB comes out as the best manager there. He's kind of in that statistical sweet spot where he hasn't played quite enough games, like as many as Pochettino or Mourinho, to sort of dilute that stats, and he's performed well enough to kind of put himself up there. But you'd have to say over time, obviously, you know, Pochettino, Harry Redknapp, even Mourinho, in my opinion, better managers.
Yeah, and where it really works out at is that in, you know, the first 38 matches, his first season, you could say that Harry Redknapp set him up, you know, pretty good.
Right.
And, you know, in his first 38 matches, he actually got the highest points total, I think, out of all of them, other than that 183-point total that we had under Pochettino, you know, a few seasons later.
Mm-hmm.
But because he was really only there for, you know, 1.5 years, really, it you know, it helps him out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all of his percentage wise, I think the only category that he didn't come first in was win percentage in the league, and that's it. So
yeah, those are pretty convincing numbers. I think when you take a well-rounded look at it, it's tough to say Jose has really underperformed or bottled it in his first season and a half by the numbers.
Yeah, I think total matches, he's only done 4 more than AVB did in his time, and only had, and that's really what drops him below AVB, right? Because if you look, the wins, Mourinho has 1 more win and 4 more matches. So that could have easily, you know, if you would have done this exact same presentation 3 matches ago, Mourinho would have come up ahead of AVB. So
yeah.
I mean, that's what makes these stats really difficult to judge, and that's why I felt like I had to do this, you know, because, you know, this stat here that's been flying around Twitter that's caused some mass debate, you know, across the fandom. I think it's not.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not a fair.
Yeah, it doesn't take into account anything. It doesn't take you. I like that you're at least taking, you know, 4 or 5 different stats and putting them all together, so it gives you a bigger picture. I mean, you have to consider so many things, and the type of team and environment that Jose Mourinho's come into is so much different than, I mean, I think the only one you could compare it to is like Sherwood, what he came into. But, you know, obviously an outlier because he's sort of a caretaker. But there's so many different things that go into judging his performance over the whole season. I don't know. I just don't really understand the people that think that Jose has underperformed with the team he has. I think he's done fine with what he has.
No, I agree with you. Sorry, I have to adjust my brightness here because it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, you're good.
But yeah. But no, I agree 100%, man. That's why I just think it's fair when you got to grab, like, when Victor HM came on the other night and we were talking about Lamella, and I thought it was some of the things that he showed me and showed me that how the EPL website was kind of, I guess you could say, ripping Lamella off on his his kilometers per match statistic. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. So even with Lamella, I've done lots of different comparisons and stats, like total yellow cards throughout his entire career, goals with his right foot throughout his entire career, goals over, goal contributions over the last, 100 appearances, or this, that, and the other. Even when you've got multiple statistics grouped together, it can still be deceiving if you're not careful about, explaining the context of it.
Lamella is one of those, I don't probably go as far as you on hating Lamella, or wanting Lamella out of the club, but I think stats are hard to describe what Lamella brings to the pitch, because he's I don't know, he's not a goal scorer or an assister for me. He's a good dribbler, and he's a good footballer. I don't know. I know he's a forward, but he's not a finisher for me.
Yeah, no, sure, for sure.
Yeah,
and for me, and that's what a lot of people say is, he's got high work rate, and I agree. I don't say I'm not saying that he doesn't have passion or that he doesn't, love the club or really work hard for the shirt.
Start in a forward position for Tottenham. He's not good enough, not even close.
Yeah, but he's got to, if you're going to play in a 6 or 8 position, then yeah, okay, that's great, right? That's the kind of player we want.
I actually always thought he'd be better further back on the pitch, because again, he just doesn't have that finish for me at all.
I agree 100%. Well, but what do you think about how Mourinho's done this season? What's just kind of Dan's view of what you've seen this year?
Listen, he's been all right. He's been let down by a lot of the players in important games, is what I think. He's got his fair share of mistakes that he's made. He's definitely gotten, obviously, some team sheets wrong, maybe some tactics. Or actually, I think he's been pretty good tactically, to be honest. I think he's matched us up well in most games in terms of how we approach them. But I think in the big games, you just have the mentality of some of these Harry Winks and Matt Doherty is just completely letting him down. And the Hugo interview was perfect for me. That was the best insight into what's going on in the club that we've had since the documentary for me. And it spoke like that. That felt spot on. Everything he said about just there's people on the bench that aren't playing for the starters out there. They're not playing for the rest of the team. They're not playing for the fans, and they're not playing for Jose. So I think that's where a lot of the players are. So this narrative that Jose's lost the locker room, I think it comes from the couple players that aren't playing for anyone, even themselves. So he's done all right. He's done all right. I think you can't fully judge him till the end of the season. I'm going to reserve my judgment. Because we could, if we finish top 4 in a trophy, he's maybe our best modern manager, which sounds weird to say now, but he's done all right. But we have to wait to see how he finishes the season. Now that he's in a good position now, where not good, but we've got 1 game a week. The everything's out there in the open in the media, so he's got full reign of the team now. He can pick the players, and because people know about the mentality problems now, it's everywhere. So this is his chance to shine. So I think we've got a decent shot at having a good season, finishing with a good season. But
yeah,
it's too early to say.
No, I agree 100%. And I'm just kind of looking up here too, just to like a quick stat. Like people say that, Mourinho set up, super defensively and stuff like that. So if I just did his just for the league goals for,
I love that little 100 goals we've scored for a negative team comment. Like, his little digs at the media are great, but it doesn't feel like we're playing negative football except for against the Cities and the Chelseas.
Yeah. Well, so I'm seeing right here that under Jose Mourinho, our goals per match is at 1.67. That's for goals for. And then with Mauricio Pochettino, it was in the league.
I'd have to imagine more.
374 divided by 203. 1.84. So that's pretty dang close.
It's close. It was really close.
1.7 to 1.8, right?
Yeah,
so
really similar numbers. Really similar. I don't think we're playing exception. I don't see it as that negative, especially when we set up in the way that people say is negative, where we play on the counter. That's not negative to me when you have some of the most exciting counterattacking breaks that you've ever seen with Kane and Son. So it's not possessing the ball the whole match doesn't make you a negative football team.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Absolutely. Not being able to score goals makes you a negative football team. Conceding goals makes you a negative football team. We don't really do either of those.
Yeah, and then like conceding wise, I think Jose Mourinho's conceded right now at about 1.1 goals per match. And looks like Pochettino had a little bit better defense. Oh, wait, no. 208.
You have to say with the personnel in our back line that our defensive stats are out of this world. It's unbelievable to think that this back line has conceded, what is it, the fourth fewest goals this season, especially with Hugo having a kind of an up and down season. It's whether it's how we set up or I don't know, but you have to give him credit for that because he doesn't have the same back line that Pochettino did, especially in those really, really good years, those 2016-17s where you've got the best back line in the world.
But even that stat's really close too. Like Poch comes in at 1.02 goals against per match, and Mourinho comes at 1.09, and that's with prime Vertonghen and prime Alderweireld. So
I always think that the most telling stat of a season is goal differential, and we're fourth right now. I think that's kind of telling of where we should be averaged out over the long term. I think that's a good stat for sort of determining that. And I just think we're underperforming for sure in those crucial games.
Yep. No, I agree 100% with you. I agree with you 100%. And I'm going to throw that link back out there in the chat. So if anybody wants to jump on, remember, you don't need a cam. You can come on voice only if you want. Let us know what you think about Jose Mourinho. Has he bottled it in your opinion or not? But my opinion on Jose, I mean, I'll just give my opinion. And I'm sure some people who've watched me on other programs or something like that may kind of know my position, but I'm really I'm not a fan. I never was a fan of Jose Mourinho. I'm not in fact, I was really nervous when he first came into the club, and I don't see it as that he set us up to play in low blocks, because if you're going to play in low blocks, I would have picked a lot different people. I would have set the team up a lot differently if I was going to play in a low block than some of the matches that he's given.
That's been one criticism I've had of him, is it seems like sometimes the personnel doesn't mirror the tactics.
And I think that the reason for that is that he's not set. I believe him when he says he's telling them to attack and telling them to go forward, and they're just not doing it.
I think that's become more evident over time, because that was the big question halfway through the season is, are the players not listening to Jose, or is Jose setting up negative? And I think kind of time has proven that he's telling them to play attacking football. He's telling them to press. Hugo, Ali Gold, all these reliable people are sort of coming out and saying that's sort of the vibe that's coming from the club right now. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, because I mean, even too, the back line, you see the back four. If you're going to be set up for a low block, there's no reason to enter the opponent's half, right? That's not how you set up for a low block, even in an attack, right? Because the whole point is to play balls in over the top, run in onto them.
We do that kind of 4-4-2 low block sometimes where you've got Kane and Son or Kane and Dombele above the ball, but then, 2 blocks of 4 behind it. So that's sort of the low block that I've seen us set up in some of those big games. But yeah, you're right.
Because I mean that, like, take the City game for example, the first City game for example. I mean that was the definition of a low block counterattack, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
And what it seemed like to me is it's really kind of we're stuck in some kind of weird, mid block where, our back line's just on the other half of the center line, and then our front attackers are just on the other side of that center line, and everybody's squashed together in the middle. And that can really hurt.
Conversation is does Jose know his best formation or his best 11? And I think it's pretty clear he doesn't. If you look at how he set up in that Villa game, I heard someone describe it as a 4-1-1-1-1-1-1-1 because there was no structure outside of the back four besides Vinicius was the highest forward. And if you look at the average position map, it's no discernible. It's literally like a straight line up the middle is the average position of everyone. So that's something that needs, if Jose stays, that's something that needs to be addressed over the summer along with the transfer window. Is we have a lot of good players, but we don't know how to play them to their full potential. And the best example of that is Lucas, who's now somehow one of the best number 10s in the Premier League. And last season, I'd say majority of Spurs fans wanted him gone.
Yeah, no,
playing on the wing.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw it really quick. I mean, it was that second half against West Ham when he first came in into number 10, and I was immediately like,
you made some comments about that on We Are Tottenham TV. Yeah.
Well, even in Maddie's watch along, I said that second half was boom. At the end of the watch along, I was like, man, that second half, he's got to play in there from now on. And everybody was like, no, I'm very serious. Lucas Moura as a number 10. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I could just see it with the eye test, and
totally.
And he's just been exceptional there going forward. Now, granted, I would hope that Lo Celso or Ndombele or Dele Alli, who are our actual players that can play in that position or are supposed to be specialists in that position, come on form and start doing an even better job. But I mean, right now it's if
it ain't broke,
don't fix it.
I'd
leave him there until his form starts to drop.
For me, I think a big part of it is on the wing, defenders figured out that if you just marshal him to the corner flag, he'll just dribble himself into oblivion. So now that he's in the center of the pitch and he can go right or left, it's his speed is too much for defenders to handle.
No, I agree with you. And I think too that especially if you're going to play a attacking pressing game, you really need. And I think that's one thing that's been a little bit frustrating is we haven't had the right fullbacks fit at the right times. I mean, because the times when you have Reguilon and Aurier, when you're going to press and attack playing together, it's been great. But when you have one out, Davies on one side or Doherty on the other side, it really just tends to fall apart because
not up to it.
You have to press from sideline to sideline. You can't leave a hole, otherwise the press can be broken down. They can play through it. So it's just been a frustrating thing. And now too with this international break, you've got Reguilon out, Davies out.
Well, how do you see us lining up on Sunday if we don't have a left back? Do you think Tanganga slots in there? Do you think?
Who was it that played over there on the?
O'Brien
There was
plays-
Doherty who played on the left, didn't he?
That was miserable though. Was that Chelsea, the second Chelsea game, or what? It was
Yeah,
one
I
of
can't
those
remember.
games.
It was one of those games.
Yeah, or Brighton maybe, where we just absolutely shat the bed.
Yeah, it might have been Brighton, I think.
Yeah.
It was Doherty out on the left, Tanganga on the right, or maybe even Sissoko on the right. I can't remember, but
You might have moved.
I think it started with Tanganga
Yeah.
and then Sissoko came on after or late. I can't remember.
It's at the point where the way we set up, it's more important to have pace on the wings in the fullback positions than defending ability, because Davies and Doherty can defend, but we just get torn apart because they don't have the energy or the speed to play the pressing game, and then they can't catch up if they have to go forward. I'd literally rather have Bergwijn, Lamela, Lucas playing those fullback spots than someone without pace, because of the way we play. It kills us.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I just don't understand why everybody's, and I know why. I know the real reason why everybody's poking a finger at Jose is that it's because of what happened at Manchester United, and everybody was apprehensive that same situation was going to happen here. And so it's an easy target to point the finger at and say, see, I told you, or you know what I mean? It's like
it's so many fans that are waiting to do that too, that would rather be right than see us win football games.
Yeah, and I just don't see anyone else coming in and doing a better job, right? And I mean, in the stats right now is
definitely
Jose
not in the immediate future. No way. You need. Yeah, I mean the only if we're talking about winning a trophy within the next year or two, the only people I'd rather have in the club are Pochettino and Klopp and maybe Pep. Those are the only if you're talking about winning, just squeezing every last bit of performance out of this club, those are the only people I'd rather have in the world.
I mean, no, for sure. I mean, it's just, I think it's just fairly simple that you can see right there that they're all other than AVB stats, right? Redknapp, Mourinho, Pochettino are all fairly close to each other.
Yeah.
And Jose, if he goes on another streak or another run, could far surpass them fairly easily because of the number of matches. And that's why I think you got to give a guy at least 2 full seasons, I think. Right? Or
the problem
70
it's such a
76 matches,
Yeah, I
in the league.
Saying, I guess if you see Jose staying this summer, do you think the board is going to give him any money? Do you think we realistically go and buy more than 1 or 2 players? Because
I mean, honestly, I think even if we only buy 1 or 2, if it's a good 1 or 2, honestly, I'd rather buy 1 or 2 really good players than to deal with another. I like to use I'd rather have 1 or 2 cans of a really good craft beer than a 6-pack of Natty Light, right? Like, I mean, that's not.
I don't know about that for sure, but I see what you're saying. Definitely.
You've never had natural ice or natural light?
I have. I'm just, it's in a pint.
Water.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think that more than 2, not that would be necessarily bad, like you said, if we spend right, but I don't see us getting more than 2 players in this summer, because you've got so many youngsters pushing through too, and that's free for Levy, so he's not going to go spend when you've got Ali Skip and Sessegnon coming back.
No, I agree, because you got a lot of those guys.
I see us getting a center back, and then that's the only starting 11 position I see us getting. Maybe a right back, but
and I mean the way that they're talking about right now, and unless they're just putting that news out there too,
there is a lot about it. Yeah, about a center back.
But I mean, also too, there's a lot of people talking about Sabitzer, Dybala, and several different center backs.
Yeah.
So even if we were to only get 2 of those 3,
it'd be great.
It'd be
But
great. I think I'd be happy with that right there.
yeah,
Because
yeah. Well, listen, I don't see us getting Sabitzer or Dybala realistically. Maybe Sabitzer, but they don't really fill a hole for us that another player doesn't already. For me, Sabitzer is kind of like a Lo Celso with more passing range, which we've been missing for sure since Eriksson left. And Dybala, I just can't see us ponying up the money to.
I think I've been watching a little bit of Savitzer lately, and I think that it has a lot. He's pretty strong, right? And then you could really even throw him into an 8 and have Ndombele playing the 10, or Lo Celso playing the 10, or him playing the 10, right? It gives you so many other options.
Yeah, we love the versatile midfielders, but I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier. We don't know our best. Versatility is great, but it doesn't matter if you don't have someone who's really great at the type of formation you're going to play. So that's the most important thing we got to figure out, because if we get Sabitzer in, that's like 5 starting midfielders we have, and
hopefully we sell some.
Well, okay, so let's say we obviously keep Højbjerg and Ndombele, Lo Celso. You add Sabitzer, you bring Ali Skip back, who probably, in my opinion, probably slots into the first team. I don't know if he starts along Højbjerg, how that would work, but he's good enough for Premier League minutes.
Yeah, you got to give Højbjerg a rest, though. He can't keep playing. He can't play 50, 60 matches a season. I mean, that's just
it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
But so he probably slots in as the backup there. But I don't know. I guess if you bring in Sabitzer, who sits for him? Does he play the 10 and Lo Celso sits? Does he play the deep playmaker and one of Ndombele or Lo Celso sits? It doesn't. He's a great player. It doesn't seem like a need for us, though. I feel like.
But I think the situation is that as long as we don't have to play Harry Winks or Sissoko, we're great.
Listen, for me, Harry Winks is gone July 1st, and Ali Skip comes back, and that's like for like, not like for like, because Ali Skip's twice the player he is. Yeah, but that's a done deal already. That's the first player out of the club in the summer for me.
Yeah, and you got Dane Scarlett that can now fill in a little bit. You got Sessegnon that can help out in left back. That means you could move Davies instead of him being he could be more of like a left-sided center back up. You know what I mean? Versus a left, fullback or something like that. And hopefully we move on a bunch of players. This year. I mean, we can move on Dele. We could move on Lamela. We could move on. Winks and Sissoko.
Davies, maybe Dyer for sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. We have so many players that we need to sell. We need to do that to generate the cash in the first place, and it's a depressed market, so we're probably not going to get, a ton of money. We're not
15 to 20 million for each one of them is probably what's going to happen.
We're not going to get 40 million from City for Harry Winks. We're going to get 15 from Villarreal. So. And then Levy's going to give us 7 of that to go buy a player. So we're going to have to sell a lot of players to generate that 30+ million for a center back. And then the potential Gareth Bale replacement, who knows where that situation is going to go. I don't know if I see him staying next season, but if he doesn't, it's going to be really hard to replace him for not a lot of money. What's his rate? 14 million for that? Or you can't get a Gareth Bale. You can't get 10 Premier League goals a season for that.
Yeah, for 14 million. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if he does go, and then you have, you try to see if, Bergwijn can maybe get on form and he can play out there on the right. You got Lucas Moura that can play on the right.
I see him as so much better on the left. He looks so much more confident with those ball rolls and those little cuts in. I don't think he looks great on the – but, I mean, he could prove me wrong. But I think we need an out-and-out right winger the way that, Son can play on the right, but he's not the same player when he's on the left.
Yeah, well, I mean that's just because he cuts in to the inside, right?
But
He's got that.
much
He's
more
got that option.
confident dribbling too in tight spaces on that left hand. You can just tell when you watch him the way that he controls the ball. He's so much more confident in those spaces.
Yeah, I think it's because even though he has a really, really, really good left foot, he's more comfortable on his right, so that gives him more space to dribble past
Yeah.
players towards his strong side. I mean, if you're playing right wing, you want somebody who's going to cut inside onto their left.
Yeah.
And Son, he can make crosses in with his left or his right, but even Son on the left, I don't see crosses the ball in enough. Right, he plays more as like a
he
inverted winger.
Run in. Yeah, he prefer exactly. That Bergwijn's another one of those players though, where it's like, where does he fit in this team? We have no idea because he's quality. He hasn't shown it this season really, but we know he can score goals. He can play football. He's a baller, but where does he play? Could he fill in a number 10? Like, I just don't see enough organization in this team. Like I guess that's my biggest criticism right now with Jose is not that we know any better, but he definitely doesn't know how he wants to play with this team and where everyone fits in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, but it's just a rough thing. I just think you can't get on form if you're only coming in for a few minutes here and there. You really got to get like a good 2 or 3.
But Bergwijn had that run
back
for
to
sure.
back.
At the beginning of the season, he was our every game starter pretty much in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 assists. I mean, that's more.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I think he's been pretty good. People get on his back for not scoring the goals, but
He did miss some sitters, so
yeah,
I mean that's.
The Liverpool one's tough. I mean, yeah, but for me, he's playing with enough energy that it doesn't matter because if he can just be that decoy run and that means Son's open, then Son can score the goal. And as far as I'm concerned, that's an assist for Bergwijn. So he does that well. He times his runs well. He reads the game well. He's quality, but we just don't know what to do with him because I just don't think he's got the confidence on the right. Even with that run of games, I just don't think he feels as good on that right side. I think
he's a right-footed player too, I think, right?
Yeah, he is a right-footed player, but again, he likes playing that inverted game. But I almost think he might be better in the middle. Like, I think he could almost play a deli role if he wanted to, or like that shadow striker, because he's a great runner and he reads the game really. So I don't know. We need to find a way to fit him in our team if he's going to stay because we haven't done it properly yet. We're definitely not utilizing him as well as we could be.
No, for sure. So coming up, this is the last day for the international stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think we're going to be setting up for that Newcastle match coming up on Sunday?
Probably another 4-1-1-1-1-1-1. But I'm worried if we don't have a fit left back because. And if Tanganga doesn't play there, because I think he could do a job there enough. He's athletic enough to really play any position on the pitch. He's great. But I guess we could go Serge and Tanganga as the fullbacks, and then Toby probably comes back in with Sanchez or Rodin, and then. The problem is, are we going to play with Gareth Bale? Because if we do, then we go for that 4-2-3-1 and play sort of that standard formation we played all season. But if we don't, I kind of like the two up top with Vinny and Kane because it creates a lot more. Having that second striker means that the center back got to be honest and play Vinny so he's not just wide open for runs, which means Kane can pull up a lot easier and get more time on that ball. So I could see us setting up either of the. Again, I think it depends on Bale. I think if Jose says Bale, you're back in, you're on my good side. We go kind of that 4-2-3-1 with Lucas in the 10 and Ndombele and Højbjerg and Son and Kane. But if not, I could see us I could see us doing something a little different with Vinny again. Maybe Lo Celso gets a look again. Again, that midfield was, I couldn't, again, watching it, you just couldn't tell what that midfield was against Villa, what formation it was, because everyone was everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, Sonny should be back.
He will be. I think he probably could have been back for the international break, but Jose wanted to play it safe.
Yeah, I think they pulled a fast one. There were some people in Korea that weren't very happy about that, by the way.
I believe it. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, because it was a big deal, right? Because they were playing Japan in a friendly, and Korea and Japan is like Scotland, England type rivalry, right? So, they had to, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of upset folk over there. It was in the news pretty big. And, there were some Japanese players out there saying that, yeah, we all play in Europe too, but Son's on a different level than us. So,
yes.
A lot of people were pretty upset the Son didn't come out.
Yeah.
Make that appearance.
I can see that.
But that's good for us because he should be fresh and not injured or whatever when he gets back from here.
Yeah, that's the thing is maybe Son plays. Like, I could see us playing Son and Vinny up top and Kane and Lucas is sort of like dual number. There's so many things we could do. And again, it's all up to Jose now because now he's got, he's made no secret that there's people that he wants out of the club. And he's got free reign to pick his teams now. And now it all 100% comes down on him. So I think I think he'll surprise us. I think we'll see something interesting on Sunday.
Well, I would like to see a 4-4-2 diamond
with Sonny. Who else playing?
Yeah,
out?
So you have Son on the left, right? Bale on the right, Vinny and Kane up top, right? And then you throw, more in the middle, and then you got, I would probably go with Højbjerg and Ndombele or Højbjerg and Lo Celso, either one, to be honest with you. That's too many people. That's one too many
exactly.
people.
You got to sit one of Lo Celso. You've got
Højbjerg down there in the back.
Yeah, you got to sit in Ndombele if you're going to do that, and Lo Celso.
Right. Yeah, and then that way it gives you subs. It gives you options to bring people in off the bench, or even if Bale doesn't play, which I think he will. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't. You
just don't know what's going on in that locker room. Totally, you just don't know.
Yeah. And then, because I think you got to get Vinny some more minutes. One, I thought he looks good, but two, it's really, especially with, and the reason why I think that's important is because Reguilon, when he's on the left, is such a vital part of spreading a back five or a back four
100%
out, right? And he's a risk in behind the lines. Those guys know it. So they respect him. So if he makes a run in behind, he usually draws one or two guys with him. Same thing with Son. But when we only have two or three dangerous players up top, it really makes the creativity extremely difficult. Then you could probably get away with playing some like overly defensive guys, Aurier on the right if he's fit and Tanganga on the left. Then you can play, Toby Sanchez or even a Rodon Sanchez. I thought they looked fine against Aston Villa too. So
Sanchez is coming. I was so critical of him early on in the season because, I mean, he was a nightmare. But he's really come into form the last month maybe, and props to him.
Yeah, I mean, because this Newcastle team has not looked great right now.
You can't buy a goal.
Yeah, granted, having everybody having a couple weeks rest because I don't think too many of their players went out on international duty. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that they probably. It's better for them to have had to play us after that break than for us to play them after that break. That's for sure. So,
yeah, except for Son coming back, except for being able to get Son healthy.
Yeah, and Lo Celso getting rest, and Aurier getting a
I think
rest.
he hasn't looked good. I think Lo Celso has not looked very good since coming back from injury, and maybe
Yeah, I mean, it takes time, especially when you're out that long. He was out most of the season,
he has
right?
not,
So
yeah, he has not looked sharp at all. Decision making is too slow, but that's probably a game time issue.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we got 26, and it's jumping between 30 and 26 people out there. You know, it's pretty much Mr. K, Yunez, and Mexico Spurs out there arguing with each other. But I like that. That's what it's for. This is a rant channel. You guys can rant in the comments or rant here on screen. He's got a question. He says, Will and Dan, sometimes we make crappy teams look like Barcelona. That is absolutely true. I agree with you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we do. And that's back to that mentality thing. Is there's games where we go out there and look like we just couldn't be fucked, and that Zagreb, great example. I mean, that was pathetic.
Yeah.
We make some bad teams look really, really good because, and maybe this is a criticism of Jose too, because we give teams so much respect sometimes, and we didn't do that under Poch in the way that, you know, we'd always come out and attack, but now Jose is so focused on the opposition that I think sometimes it worries the players too much. It's hard to say, but we definitely bottle it against some of these bad sides.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. Yeah, and with the Zagreb, I'm telling you, it was Harry Winks and Sissoko were in that double pivot, right?
That the Harry Winks wouldn't throw a shoulder on a player.
Anybody, he runs along next to people.
It's
every single time I watched.
Yeah, that last Orsic goal was just so brutal to watch him run through Winks, Sissoko, and Darty. Just 3 championship players right there. It was bad.
Yeah, no, I just don't understand why you can't put a shoulder on somebody. I mean, just get touch tight to them. Why do you have to run alongside of them? Right, you're just following them into their position, and then they just cut back on you, and you're burned.
Because he's not a 6, so he doesn't. He's got 8 on his back, not 6. He doesn't have to tackle. That's what he thinks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do about Harry Winks.
Like I said, he's the first one gone for me in the summer. I think if you're getting rid of 2 or 3 players, that he's got to be number 1 on the list. Just everything he's done this season has not been up to par performance-wise or mentality-wise. He's just making dumb comments in the press when he gets interviewed. It's just all around terrible. It's all around embarrassing from Harry Winks.
Well, I mean, for me, it's strictly just because of his attitude. I think that he should never wear the shirt again. If I was the coach, I'd take a squad number and send him to play to the U23s.
He's Tottenham through and through. He's a youth academy product, and he looks like he doesn't give a fuck about the club. It's crazy.
It absolutely makes me
someone I liked
mad.
A couple seasons ago when he was breaking through and looking like he could be, a decent player. But he's fallen off a cliff, and it's sad. I don't know what's going on. It's sad.
Yeah, but we got all the guys in the chat out there screaming, hit that like button. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, it absolutely helps me out, I guess. I mean, I'm a pretty small channel that's growing fairly fast, so but I'm sure it helps even a little bit, and I always appreciate people helping that out. And if you're watching this later, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell, because that is how you can tell if I'm coming on live. Because even me, and that's why I run, like, sometimes some people laugh at my little stream starting soon part, but the reason why I do that is because a lot of the other channels that don't do that, by the time my phone tells me that the stream is live, I've missed like the first 3 or 4 minutes of the show, right? So I like to have that out there. It kind of lets people gather up. You can see, because when I first hit go, there's 0, 0, 0 for about 35 seconds. Then all of a sudden it's at 20, right? So I mean, it's like by the time I'm hitting go, if I start talking right away, 95% of the first people to watch the show would miss, what I've said. So I just like to roll it in there, let people join in, and then I hit go. And then usually it's not even till probably about a good 25, 30 minutes later that it reaches, 30 something people. So
yeah, I like that it's long form and you can just kind of pop in and out whenever.
People are free to.
I've listened to a couple of them. Just kind of, it's. I like the timing too. Obviously, for us Americans, it's nice, but it's these newer long form Spurs YouTube channels that are popping up everywhere are awesome. They're great because you can't get any good Spurs content from English punditry, and I'm sure everyone across the pond knows that better than us.
Or ESPN FC, right?
That's even worse somehow.
Yeah,
that's even worse. But yeah, being able to actually get legitimate opinions on Spurs is nice.
And then Mr. K says the intro is perfect. I've seen too many other streams miss that beginning bit. Yeah, I think it's really important for that. And I mean, a lot of people will use like the standard StreamYard, little 30-second countdown, which is better than nothing, to be honest with you, because it really does. And then I like to put each day that I do a stream, I make a brand new video to play at the beginning. Now, granted, the core of it's the same, but I'll add the thumbnail for the day's topic, and it allows people to kind of see what we're going to talk about before it gets started.
Editing for sure.
Yeah, so it's quick. You just throw it in, pop it up, pop it out, pull it in, pull it out a couple times. But I'm a graphic designer by profession, so this type of stuff is fast, a little bit faster for me than I guess you could say your average YouTuber with that doesn't have a staff of people making their thumbnails for it. So actually, I started making thumbnails for other people. So I've been making them for David and a couple other people like that. So
yeah.
It's like the Frenemies one. That was one that I did, and
that was a heated one.
Yeah, that stream was hot, man. And this was kind of the reason I did this. Now, it was part of my plan anyway, because I'll be going live again. We'll have the pre-Newcastle stream probably Saturday night, and then we'll have a post match stream Sunday night. But the reason why I wanted to do this stream is while I was in the chat there, I had done some research in the past, but I couldn't quite remember the numbers.
Yeah.
And Marcelo carved me out a little bit on it. So I wanted to get my ducks in a row and really put that out there.
Yeah.
And so, because it's not, the numbers don't say that Pochettino is that much better than Mourinho.
I think what's impressive about Pochettino is his longevity. That's, for me, the biggest, is he could overperform or overperform with a team over 5 seasons, and that's really hard to do. But I think if let's say Pochettino left Spurs after that after we lose the league to Leicester, I think he's looked at right now, obviously, differently because of no Champions League final, but the caliber of manager, his performance would be like people wouldn't have a problem comparing his performance to Jose right now.
Yeah.
I'd say pretty similar. I mean, Pochettino, gave it a run and that was it. Yeah.
But what's funny is that I was surprised to see AVB come out on top of most of the statistics when he was probably one of the most hated out of the last 5 managers.
Yeah, but I think that's because of the football he played. I don't think that's because of the results. Because we were a pretty good team under him. People just wanted us to play the type of football we played when Poch came in. Yeah,
no, for sure. Yeah, a lot of those guys out in the West Coast, they said that they got to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch the 12 o'clock games. I know it's tough, man. For me, luckily, I'm on the East Coast. Where are you at? What area?
I'm in Chicago, so
okay, so Central.
Yeah, I'm waking up at 7:30 for that Newcastle game.
Yeah, I'll be 7. It'll be 7. I guess 9:30 for me then, huh? If it's 8:30 for you.
No, no.
Oh, you said 7:30?
I think it's 8. I think it's 8. I'm just trying to get as much sleep as I can.
Gotcha. So you just wake up a little bit late. Yeah, no, I mean that's too early for me to do a live stream.
Before the game starts. Once it's out, it's out. I don't need to.
I tell you what, you guys out here, I will do. I'll do a watch. Most of the time, I'm on Matty Hayes' watch along. There may be times where in the future, now that I'll join the whole entire watch along. Like if there's only if one of the 3 are missing, or if I get asked to join whenever. I don't like to impose myself, but man, if you watch this after the fact, I'm always available, except for maybe the really early matches. Because I usually watch those. In my PJs on the bed on my iPad.
Those are the worst. Those are the games that you wake up and you turn it on 5 minutes late and we're down 1-0 and you just turn it back off.
Yeah. Or a lot of times I'll miss the first 10 minutes. But so with the Matt Hayes watch along, it starts a whole hour before the game starts.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I like that. I like that the boys will go on and just get through the talking points before the game. That's kind of nice.
I like it on the games that are especially like the 3 o'clock games for me. So that'd be like the 2 o'clock games for you. I like it on those days, or even the noon games or something like that. But the early ones,
I can't.
I don't like Matt. I love Matt and David, but I don't like him good enough to wake up at 6 a.m.
No,
just to.
No, I don't even like Spurs good enough.
Jump on a stream
most of the time. So, yeah.
But we got another question in here. We got Ronak Khanna. He said, Will, I saw you at the We Are Tottenham TV England and Chill stream earlier today. How did you do in the quizzes? I missed the first one. They had already started it by the time I started watching the stream. The second one, I think I scored in like the 30s. The third one, I was like 15 or 16 or something like that. And then the last one, I think it was like 22nd or something like that. Not very good. There's a lot of those, especially the write-in ones. I'm horrible at spelling, and it's really hard to type that. You got 10 seconds on your phone to think and then type. Like in 10 seconds, I could think and then type on a keyboard, but on a phone, it's harder because you have to hunt and peck versus, type in the right way. And I can't spell either, so all of those write-in ones I didn't do too good in. And then we've got Eunice. What are your thoughts on 8K crowds of NHS and the neutral fans being allowed for the cup? Yeah, more fans the better.
Yeah, if they can do it safely, great.
Yeah, I think it's time. And we got Mr. K. Hey, Mr. K, I'm telling you right now, it's easier for me to stay up till 6 a.m. than it is for me to wake up at 6 a.m.
100%. That's why I kind of like those 3-4 a.m. games more than the 6 a.m. because you stay up.
Yeah. Yeah. If I lived on the West Coast, I just stay up till 4 a.m. to watch Spurs. That's what I would do. Except for that kind of stinks on a Sunday because then you gotta
nap the rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can nap the rest of the day. That's true. It's not like you have to go into work. But yeah, I'd stay up till 3 or 4 a.m. before I woke up at that. And then somebody else had a question here too. This was a comment I want to respond to. He said he made him the goal scorer he was today. I think he was a better coach than a manager. Yeah, to be honest with you, during that AVBE season was kind of the year that I was moving back from Korea to the US. So I didn't really get to follow it very much. Next thing I knew, he was out. Tim Sherwood was in, and then he was out. So I didn't really I wasn't, I guess you could say, a week in, week out watcher under AVB.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't. Yeah.
I during Harry Redknapp, I watched probably a little bit more. And then under AVB, I watched probably like the first 3 or 4 matches of the season, which was great because I think that was like they won like 4 or 5, straight. And then it kind of fizzled out because I was, getting ready to move back. International moves are a big pain in the neck. Moving in general is a pain in the neck. I hate it. But yeah, agree, Dan, on English punditry. Honestly, I don't really watch a whole lot of English.
Honestly, as an American, it's embarrassing to listen to some English punditry because the bias is unbelievable sometimes. I mean, look at the David Ornstein thing. He posts an article that Kane's gone, and 24 hours later, he posts an article that now he's staying. It's all clicks. It's all bias. It's crazy how biased.
Yeah, so I try to let
American punditry is great, but like I think if you look at like American football or baseball or basketball, maybe not basketball, but baseball punditry, it's miles better, so much more fair, so much more, I guess,
skeptical, maybe.
Yeah, level-headed is like kind of how I describe. Yeah,
so like before jumping out there with some news, they'll say, well, they'll say this isn't confirmed yet, but we've heard this. Like they'll give like disclaimers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and English punditry is just so biased based on wherever they play. Like it's crazy. It's crazy some of the things these people say, just because they, just because Gary Neville played for Man United, the way he'll talk, like there's no they're shameless. They're shameless pundits for sure.
Yeah, and then Roy Keane, I can't stand his punditry.
I know David won't like us for this one, but I'm not a huge, as a pundit, I'm not a Roy Keane fan either.
Yeah, and ESPN FC is horrible.
They're a joke. They're not even like media as far as I'm concerned. The stuff they said about Harry Kane off the A's, they're a joke.
Well, yeah, I mean those backstage people do that, but I mean even like Craig Burley, right? Like he'll trash if the Tottenham lose, he'll absolutely trash Tottenham. Or I mean, it's obviously like Liverpool TV over there for the most part because most of their pundits are Stevie Nichols and Dan, what's his name, but the most of them are ex-Liverpool players and then or Liverpool or Chelsea, right? Those it's those because you got Frank over there from France, and so it's pretty much just Chelsea, Liverpool punditry. But Craig will slam Spurs when they lose.
Yeah.
And then say they're horrible, you're going nowhere. And then when we're starting to be top of the league, he's like, yeah, they can win it. And then the first loss is like, see, I told you they were going to win. Like their opinions change so quickly.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, there's I don't know why there is no accountability in English punditry at all. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean it's heartless, but yeah, Frank LeBeouf.
Yeah, that guy.
Well, Frank from Paris, played for ex-Chelsea player. I mean, you have Newcastle only because you have Shaka Hislop on there doing that stuff, but it's more of a West Ham, right? It's him and I can't remember the guy who played for Liverpool and West Ham.
When's the last time you heard ESPN talk about Newcastle? Never.
Yeah, they hardly talk about it.
That's another thing about English punditry too, is that outside of the top six, there's no discussion.
Yeah, Liverpool, Chelsea, PSG, West Ham. Yeah. All right, Mr. K, thanks for watching, man. I really appreciate it. You guys are legends. Anybody else out there in Wonderland want to jump on tonight? Will be Ajax. Do we get left from ESPN? No, it's about Ajax blew it. Yeah, it's always about somebody blew it. It's always about how Spurs never played well, or even if we played well, they'll say that the game was so boring.
When we get those wins against, like when we beat Burnley 4-0, the punditry around that game is it's Burnley, and then they go draw Arsenal, and then they go beat Liverpool at Anfield, and it's this Burnley team's really tough. They're really hard to break down, but I guess it didn't matter that Spurs broke them down and put 4 past them.
Yeah, Jurgen Klinsmann. I mean, I used to watch that show every single day.
I do love Jurgen Klinsmann. He is a great Spurs punditry too because he's so positive. He's always so positive about the club. So you gotta love Klinsmann.
Yeah, he's always. I think he always gives Spurs a good word. But,
Oh yeah, and he's a legend in the States too. So
yeah,
you gotta love him here.
yeah. See you jump on, but he's got a sub on its way, and the university got me looking like a caveman. Sounds good.
Throw the hat on. That's what I did because it's a caveman under here.
Yeah, I have no hair under here, so
There you go.
I look like Frank LeBeouf under there. So
There you go.
and then yeah, we were just talking about that. Yeah, making fun of his speech impediment.
To me too, the way English punditry attacks Kane, because he's the golden boy there. He's the captain of their national team, and he's just a standout human being. And all they can do is rip off. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, they like to do that too. I mean, I'll be sorry. So mianamnida to my Korean friends. But they'll do that to Son too, right? If it's his, like when they went out of the World Cup, out of the group stages, last World Cup. Oh my gosh, did they blame him?
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they blamed him bad. I was like, he's one player, and the rest of the team, they had no one on. Maybe one or two other guys that looked halfway decent, right? And it's like, what do you expect him to do?
Mm-hmm. It's just weird to me because that doesn't happen here with our international sports superstars. Like LeBron James is the most beloved media figure ever in the U.S. Even a guy like Patrick Kane, if you're a hockey fan at all, it has done some real questionable stuff in the past, and the media papers over all of it, and he's better now, but they love him. They love him, and he's a national hero for being, the best American ice hockey player ever. So it's crazy to me the way they dig out Kane, because why wouldn't you want to put him on a pedestal, as this is what every English footballer should strive to be, is a stand-up human being who's just
he's not flashy enough. That's why.
Totally. He's too boring, and
too nice, too much of a gentleman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not the most handsome guy in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. He's too average. He's too average as a person. Yeah. But you should. I don't know why that's a bad thing.
No, I don't understand what that has to do with how you play the game. I don't understand why sports players have to be big, flashy, and handsome. I guess it sells magazines, and newspaper articles, but gets views on the TV. But it's like David Beckham. He probably made more money for newspapers than he did for Manchester United, right? So,
right. Yeah. Totally.
But this question here, man, what do you think about the Levy negotiating the naming rights for the stadium, dude? I don't think we'll see a dime in that in the transfer window, guaranteed.
I hope we do. I mean, I hope we do,
because it's $250 million if that goes through.
Mm-hmm.
It's $250 million over 5 years, and we're $150 million in debt right now, unrecoverable, right? So that would take up $5 million of that, or $50 million of it, rather. So then you got another $100 million debt. Yeah. I guarantee it's not. We won't see a dime of that money into the transfer window.
What I was reading today is that 250 number is not what Levy wants. Obviously, it's not.
He wants like 300 something plus.
Yeah, but I think if we could sign that, then maybe we'd see some. I don't know. That's so crazy.
No, I think that'll all go into that to back into the stadium or paying off the debt.
It's nuts. Once that. I don't understand the issue, because it must be liquidity, because how can you not loan out money to how could Tottenham not spend now and be like, we're going to make this money back? We're going to.
Well, I mean, it's just dumb, right? It's not good business, to be honest with you. Yes, it's safe, but you just dropped $1 billion on a stadium. I mean, you're willing to go out on a limb for that. But you're not willing to go an extra 10 or 15 million dollars to get, Skriniar this past summer
for Fernandez. Yeah,
I mean, it was
crazy.
15, right? So we were willing to pay 30. They wanted 45, right?
Oh,
he said no
for Skriniar.
Yeah, for Skriniar.
Yes, yeah.
And Levy said no, right? And now he's worth like 80, right? So you just cost yourself.
Yeah, and we're
$35 million more by saying no.
And we were talking about Sabitzer earlier. The figure in January was 30-35. He's going to be 45-50 in the summer because Bayern's going to come in and Real's going to come in and Liverpool wants him and Man U want him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree that Kane doesn't get a fair shake. But I mean, it's just for me, it's so frustrating. People do that all the time. People think that it's.
To Eunice, people make fun of Kyrie Irving behind his back. It's not.
But I as a business guy, I understand it's called cash flow, right?
Mhm.
So, as a business guy, but I'm new, but I have partners, and they do similar things. Instead of paying off, like if you have a PO that's out, or instead of paying it all off at once, they'll pay it off in small chunks.
Right.
Even though they end up paying more money in the long run than just paying it off. And we're not talking about a big dollar. I'm not talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but even if it's like,
no, I understand what you're saying.
Even if it's only like 2,000 or 3,000, it's like, why not just pay it off and be done with it instead of paying, 4,000 later? But
exactly.
Because then you got more cash to work with now, and we don't have to put in as much here and there. But
if we're not spending that cash on the transfer market now, then what's the point?
Remember a couple months ago when Eves was saying that we'd lose the league because our football's boring. Exactly. Yeah, that was their reasoning.
Oh man. Yeah, you know what? NBC's not half bad. Yeah. I like Tim Howard as a pundit. I think Tim Howard kind of embodies that level-headed punditry that you get in a lot of other American sports.
Yeah, the guys they have on at least for Premier League mornings and stuff like that are pretty good.
Yeah, even though Robbie Earl's like annoying, like at least he's not talking like Roy Keane is.
Yeah, no, I agree. Make sure you subscribe because our punditry is better than theirs, and we do shows not quite as often, but they're a little bit longer and they're more fun. And not only that, but you get to call in. It's kind of like I like to be think of myself as the late night version of Talk Sport in the UK, but here in America, you can call in, have your piece. I might make fun of you, or I might not.
Branding for yourself.
Yeah, just call it in. It's the Tottenham call-in show. Rebecca Lowe isn't bad.
She's all right.
Yeah, she's okay.
She's all right.
What about ESPN podcast? Caught Offside. At least one of those hosts is a Spurs fan. I haven't listened to that one. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of vodcasts, right? If there's no video involved,
I'll listen to Spurs podcast. I like the Fighting Cock and Last Word on Spurs and stuff like that.
I like to watch their YouTube stuff because what I do is I just don't pay attention to it, but I'll just take my phone in the car
while you're working. Yeah.
And I'll just stick it up there, or like it. So I'm working out of the house now, obviously, because of the situation, but I have like a little, I guess you could say like a cell phone thing, and I've had zip tied to a chair, and I just stick it on there and do what I got to do. And
yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I always keep it on in the background and just
work. Yeah, or throw YouTube on my TV. I have a TV in my work area, which is my garage. So
yep.
So I do all my stuff. Do you guys follow American politics? What a mess. So yeah, this is politic free show right here. Unless you're talking about football politics, I don't want to. Unless they cross.
Unless Donald Trump buys the stadium naming rights.
Right. then we'll talk about that.
Oh man.
James George, yeah, I'm on YouTube now, especially after COVID and work from home. Yeah, for me too. I mean, Ronak, if you want to ask me questions about politics, you can like DM me on Twitter or something, and I'll answer. But I try to keep this rant show ranting about something that won't get me canceled or something like that. So you got to be careful what you say now here on YouTube, otherwise your channel will disappear. So I don't want that.
Yeah. Cancel.
You don't want that. They won't cancel us for Tottenham. We can say all kinds of stuff because it doesn't matter. It's not important.
Yep.
So Tim Howard as a pundit is okay. His beard though is epic.
That's true. He's got a great. The Secretary of Defense. That's as far as I'll go into politics. Is Tim Howard is the Secretary of Defense.
Is that who it is now? I don't even know.
Huh? No, what? No, that's what they used to call him on the national team. He was the Secretary of Defense.
No, I didn't see that, Will. I didn't see that. To be honest with you, I really only watch MDD. I don't really like watch Destiny or Vosh or any of those guys. It gets old after a while. I like to watch debates every now and again and do debates myself. I just like to super chat and ask people questions.
Mm-hmm.
He is Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know anything. I don't even know. Like, I haven't even been watching the trial or anything like that. Just because I'm just not interested anymore. Like when it first went into lockdown over here and stuff like that, I was probably pretty big into it because I didn't really have anything else to do. But now it's just like,
oh yeah,
it just got so beat to death over it. I just really don't watch anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Question for thought: should European clubs focus more on MLS prospects? Actually, I'm glad you do this because now you're going to get me ranting. You just gave me a reason to rant, and maybe make it a little bit more interesting for you guys. Yeah, Will, we're talking about Jose. If let me know if the link's not still up above. If it isn't, I'll throw it in. You can call in. Yeah, for MLS, I really do. I really think that there's a lot of, and that's what makes me bad about our scouting departments. I think that there's a lot of young, really good guys that can.
These under 18 Americans now are being trained the same way that they're training to play basketball and baseball. So they're going to be world-class athletes.
Yes,
sure.
I think that the young guys we have going now, Christian Pulisic kind of being the first development academy call up in the
national team.
The national team, and now that that's kind of on its way, it'll be and he's kind of the first of it. And there's a whole crew of guys coming up. So I think
Virginia Dest, these guys are already in Europe too, but they're so young and they're tearing it up.
Well, not only that, but I think too, it's just the fact that even from the U.S., because a lot of the guys now that are on that international team, they're a lot of them are were born over there, lived their whole, like Sergio Dest has lived most of his life over in Europe, right? He hasn't spent a whole lot of time in the States, but similar with Gio Reyna, he spent a lot of his time overseas too. So because of his dad playing, overseas.
I watched actually a really interesting. There's an interview with Gary Vaynerchuk. If you know him, you're a media guy. He's a huge Spurs fan, and he interviews Christian Pulisic's dad on sort of having him be that first, American paving the way in Europe and how difficult. And that was really fascinating. He moved out there when he was like 10 and like learned German. It's crazy.
Yeah. Because having a son that's in that system now and one or two rungs down the ladder from playing at the MLS next level, it's definitely something that I'm interested in, personally.
You should check that out.
And yeah, I watch a lot of. I think Christian Pulisic's dad had a podcast for a while. I don't know if he's still doing it, but I used to listen to it a couple of times. And all the episodes that they had at that time, and then I kind of stopped listening. That's the thing. Podcasts have a hard time holding my attention because there's nothing visual there to kind of keep my eye.
Like it in the background while you're working or whatever. Yeah.
Because I have a big TV up there, like a 50-inch TV in the garage that I just throw stuff on, and it's my trade show TV, so it just sits there. So I just plug it in, throw stuff on it while I'm working during the day, and then. But yeah, it's just hard for me. I think that for the 2022 World Cup, it'll be maybe not as good as the 2026 because there's a lot of boys right now who are U15, U16, and there's some players, and I'd be willing to bet because I watch.
Yeah, you probably even have a better insight into that.
Yeah, I watch a lot of youth soccer at high competitive levels here, and I can see there's a lot of boys, like even at the U14 level. There's a boy who plays for the Charlotte MLS club. The new Charlotte MLS club used to play for my my son's club. He's from Bermundi, but he moved here when he was like 8, and he is really good.
Yeah, I believe it.
Really good. Like, I haven't seen a kid run around and do some of the things he does, the way he moves. But I mean, I don't know which country he'll choose, for as far as FIFA. But I mean, if he moved here when he's 8 and ends up playing here until he's an adult, hopefully he'd pick the U.S. I mean, his parents have accents and stuff like that, but he doesn't. So, and then just a whole bunch of boys. And so I think that the 2026 and even the 2030 World Cup will really be when you see America at its
I mean, I
strongest.
I think we could even make some noise in 2022 and get to the round of 16 or something. There's a shout. We've got some decent young talent for sure. But yeah, it's only getting better.
Which MLS team is the best?
I think Atlanta usually is excited.
But right now, I think like Portland's been pretty strong. Seattle's always very strong.
LA Galaxy too has had.
LAFC's been a little stronger than LA Galaxy the last couple of years. Sporting Kansas City's in and out. Just depends on the year.
The MLS, because I can't. It's just so low.
I do a little bit, only because, like I said, it's kind of tied to my son's. That's
right.
That's probably going to be his first step back into Europe, is getting to an MLS academy. So I kind of have to know a little bit about that scene. But do I watch the matches regularly? No, it's usually like, because we're on later in the evenings when European games are early on. If I don't have anything to do, I'll watch those. Do you think soccer has taken over in popular baseball?
No.
I mean, at the youth level, absolutely. Oh yeah, there's far more soccer players. There's over 35 million kids.
I was saying culturally, I don't think so.
I think it's growing though. I really do.
Definitely. I think it's now on par with American football and baseball and basketball in terms of it's always been big, especially for women. For whatever reason, women's soccer is the biggest women's sport here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, the U.S. women's national team is far more
but I mean,
mainstream famous than the men's.
It's huge here for whatever reason as a women's sport, really only.
I would say for the women, it's probably the biggest sport. I would say that women's soccer is probably bigger than, especially on the professional levels, bigger than basketball or softball or.
Oh, 100%. People get like really excited about like the U.S. women's team and the Olympics and stuff like.
Yeah, and that might be for like the World Cup and stuff like that. But I really don't know how much like the NWSL.
It's a different level too. But as a sport, as people playing it. It's the biggest women's sport in terms of when you're growing up. Every girl in America probably plays soccer at one point or another.
Yeah, I would say like at high schools, basketball and soccer are probably the two biggest girls' sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
at high schools nowadays. It's I do think that it's becoming culturally more popular. I do start seeing a lot more
declining for sure.
Logos on cars and hats and shirts and stuff when I'm out and about. It really depends too where in the country you live. Like if you live in the Midwest, probably not so much.
Yeah, it's not. I barely know any Spurs. I never see Spurs fans in Chicago ever.
If you live in the South, like the Gulf Coast area, it's usually pretty big. East Coast, West Coast. Yeah.
Outside,
the Northeast. It's really popular.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere but the Midwest where I am. It's pretty popular.
Yeah, I mean I'd
say baseball is also the biggest sport in the Midwest, so that's probably why I said it.
And what's weird about it is St. Louis, where I'm from, historically was kind of the birthplace, the mainstay of soccer, association football, and in America back in the day. So back when we actually did well in the World Cup, like back in the 1930s and stuff like that. it was that was kind of the hub, and that's really where a lot of the professional leagues started. And like even in places in Kansas City, they have indoor teams, they have professional teams, and then St. Louis just got an MLS team now. But that area there, Missouri, Illinois, fairly popular. But you get outside of even those two states, anywhere else, like for youth travel teams, there's 208 youth travel teams. That means competitive, and that's not just like recreational, but like actual, travel soccer type teams. There's 208 in North Carolina, 187 in Virginia, and 14 in West Virginia. So that tells you the difference.
There you go.
About how that goes. So, yeah, a lot in Missouri, not so many in the other southern states. Like a lot of the ODP teams, Olympic development teams from other states. Like we're in Region 3. And there's so many states in that region. I was like, compared to Region 1, I was like, why are there so many states? But the only states that come are Tennessee, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia. That's it. Okay. Nobody else comes. Maybe Texas every now and again. But all the other states in all of Region 3, which goes all the way from Florida up to North Carolina and over to Texas, there's like none of those other states really participate in any of the competitions because they just don't have enough kids doing it.
Yeah.
Amen MLS. One time I bet a friend of mine that an MLS final that every time they could put 3 passes together, we drink. Yeah, I drove home easily that night.
Listen, I'll say this. MLS game, I've been to one MLS game in my life, and it was a blast. I paid maybe $8 for sideline seats, and drinks are really cheap. So it's a good time. It's it's a fun event. It's
getting better though. Good. I'll tell you that right now. It is getting better. Quality of play, especially now that a lot of these young guys coming from the DA are moving into the main teams, the first teams. A lot of these clubs, like
the last 10 years, it's just been a retirement home for the Zlatans and the Schweinsteigers to come make real money after they can't play competitive football anymore.
Southern California, it's
huge,
really popular. Yeah,
all over California, really big.
Yeah, all over California, even surprisingly Seattle.
Big Mexican and Latin American population there too, so it's real big there.
Yeah, Washington, Oregon, that whole West Coast, it's fairly popular as well. It's kind of weird why it mixes up. I guess because it's kind of the heartland. That's where you have football and baseball are really the super competitive ones. So
yeah.
And then I think it's getting a lot better. I think that you'll start to see the quality. I think it'll start turning into kind of a sellers league here in a bit, farmers league, because you got Weston McKinney. He's a DA product. Pulisic came out of the DA.
Weston McKinney is going to be a stud.
Yeah. And who else? Josh Sargent's a DA product. Who else is a DA product that's out there now? That's kind of got
Where's Josh Sargent playing? In Germany somewhere?
Yeah. He played for Werder Bremen, I think.
Is that Bundesliga?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not doing too great this year. I think they're at the bottom of the table. He might get relegated, but who else is a DA product? Sergio Dest doesn't play in America. He played in Europe. Gio Reyna, I'm not sure if he played for a DA club or not. I mean, maybe when he was a little young, but I think he grew up in Europe most of the time because his dad was playing, right? So overseas. And then I'm trying to think of who else that's on there as a DA product that's playing in Europe. That's all I can think of right now that possibly could have been playing for DA. But you got a lot of boys. I think there's a boy who plays for Sporting Kansas City that came from my son's club a couple years ago. His name is Gianluca Busio. Plays for Sporting Kansas City. He's 18 right now. He was the third youngest player to ever sign a professional contract and start. He's also one of the youngest guys to ever score in an MLS competition. So I think he's got a good shot of heading overseas here pretty quick. Yeah, Alphonso Davies. He was I don't know if he was DA product, but he was definitely MLS product.
Isn't he? Yeah, he's on the Canadian national team.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Canadians were a part of the DA though.
You're saying,
because that was the U.S. Soccer Federation's developmental academy, so they had started that really as kind of that was the top league at the time, and that's where they drew a lot of it was to train kids. That's where they got all their youth national team players from, because it was run by U.S. Soccer, and it was it was a different thing. So I don't know if the Canadian guys were a part of that or not. But Canada has some good youth teams too, though. So it just depends on where it is. Their season's really short there. Then Alex Morgan has more social media followers than Tottenham. I wouldn't doubt it. There's a lot more Americans, and they're pretty vocal. You know,
I mean,
on
Gareth
the news
Bale's got
stuff.
more followers than any Premier League club, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Like Cristiano Ronaldo probably has more than all Premier League clubs. But yeah, it's just a bunch of different things for their stuff, you know. But yeah. You live 5 minutes away from where? Play for the academy. Were they a part of the developmental academy, or do you guys have your own system in Canada, Eunice? You have to put that in there. But yeah, man. Yeah, up in Chicago, they've got developmental academy. Couple teams up there.
Yep.
Calgary. Who's world class? It's still pretty crazy to think that world class talent came out of the MLS, especially when you think where the MLS was 10 years ago. I'm telling you right now, man, it had to do with the DA, right? It was that youth program and the way they do it. I would be willing to bet. I'd be willing to bet, and a lot of people don't come over here because of that, but I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the top U14 teams, U15 teams in the developmental academy would beat most European U15 teams. Because I watch a lot of European U15 teams, and some of those teams are suspect. Now, I don't know if they're like using like a lower level in their own club to play against the foreign kids. But like watching like Atletico Madrid and a lot of their U13, U14 teams, not very impressive compared to at least what happens over here. When are Marcelo and David coming on next? I don't know, man. Whenever they want. This is kind of like a free-for-all show. Like I should have invited them both on tonight, right? I should have moderated for them.
Yeah, that would have been great.
They may not have come on. They may not be speaking to each other right now. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
All right. Well, I think I got to hop off here, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, though. Thanks for keeping me company. I'm going to stay on for probably at least another 15, 20 minutes to answer some questions.
For the rest tomorrow. But yeah, thanks for having me on, man. That was fun.
Yeah, anytime, Jim.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on.
Again.
All righty, brother. Thanks.
All right. Take it easy.
Take it easy. All right, David. Well, David, why don't you come on the show, my friend? Will, did you go to K-League matches when you were in Korea? Do you have a favorite team? I don't think I went into any matches, but I lived right by Munhak Gyeonggijang, and so I would walk by when a lot of the Incheon United games were on, and yeah, every day when walking to the subway station, I'd have to go past there every single day. Dave, you should come on the show. We can have a chat. We can have a chat in Korean or English, whichever you prefer. We'll throw the link in there. You can join if you'd like. The true Mexican Spurs, but the issue with La Liga MX are the crazy prices that they value their players. 20 million plus. Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of Mexican internationals going out nowadays anymore. There's only a few. What's up with that, guys? Explain that one to me. Explain that to me. I'm a Spurs fan. It's a good dynamic. Both teams are underdogs. Yeah, I don't mind Atletico Madrid. Just because it's nice to see someone other than Barcelona and Real Madrid win it every now and again. The EPL is just way too much fun. It's way too much fun for me to be able to watch some other leagues. There's Hector Herrera for Atleti. Yeah, but I mean, there's only like maybe 5 or 6, right? There's probably as many, if not more, Americans out in Europe right now than Mexicans, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Granted, I don't know everybody, especially with a lot of the names doubling up over there in Spain. It's tough to tell sometimes. Tough to tell. I'd probably have to go with the Incheon United simply because I live right by there. That's who I'd probably say my favorite team was. Do you think there are too many foreign players in MLS? I mean, it pushes you as a young American kid to. But I think they have a quota. I think they have a limit. I think it's a lot like the EPL, where you have to have a certain amount of homegrown players. But if you're not as good as the foreign guys, then you don't deserve to play. I don't think they should. I don't think there should be quotas. I think it should just be the best players. It really makes you have to step up your game. I think they should have like a local quota for the academies. But as far as like the first team, I don't think there should be a homegrown quota in any league, to be honest with you. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. I like to watch League MX sometimes if there's nothing else on. I predicted the lineup for Sunday. Well, I'll give you Will's lineup today, and then I'm going to do a pre-match show on Saturday night where we'll actually do like a predicted lineup, and stuff like that. Who I would want to see is I'd see a 4-4-2, either diamond or standard. Son on the left. Or let's start at the top. Kane and Vinny up top. Son on the left. Bale on the right. Højbjerg and Ndombele with Tanganga left back if Reguilon's injured. If Reguilon's fit, then obviously Reguilon goes. Then we'll have a center back. I'd like to see a pairing of either Toby Sanchez, Toby Rodin, or Rodin Sanchez. And then on the right, Aurier, if he's the only one that's fit. He's got to come in. That's who I'd play. That's who I would play. Kane rest day? No. Can't. Kane can rest from Sunday to next game. Although we have another midweek game coming up in game week 32. Coming to be Chelsea. True libertarian. Yep, I'm a libertarian. Chivas. How about those the Mexico Spurs Supporters Club? You guys have a lot of Spurs fans down there? Or no? Let me know about the numbers you guys got for that. Jose has better tactics, though. All right, guys. If nobody wants to jump on or ask me questions, I'll stay on for as long as you guys are adding me. Just hit @WillStewart. Ask me a question. Otherwise, I'm gonna call it a night, man. Honestly, I have been streaming a lot lately on multiple different platforms, and I could use a break, to be honest with you. I know it's been a while since I streamed here, but I've been a little bit worn out, to be telling you the truth. But I will stay with you guys until. Why would we? I mean, we can use heart in the Premier League. I wouldn't do it though. We got a friend on here, David. How you doing?
Hey, Will. How are you?
I'm doing well. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
So are you calling from Korea today?
No, I'm actually in SoCal, but I grew up in Seoul and I go back quite often. And yeah, so I still have ties there, still have friends, some family.
Well, good deal. How long have you lived in the States?
I went to school here, so I basically grew up in, I guess, yeah, I grew up in Seoul when I was younger, and then I went to school here, like middle school, high school.
All right, so like the standard, come over here for middle school, high school, and college type of deal. I had a lot of Korean friends that did that. So
yeah, no, you go ahead.
So are you planning on staying here for good, or are you going to head back at some point, or?
Yeah, no, I'm working here. I'm staying here.
Good deal. Good deal.
What about you though? What were you doing in Korea?
Well, so like in 2003, I went over for the first time in 2003, and I was in the United States Air Force. I did that for 2 years, and then came back, finished school, and then like I said, all my friends at the last year of school were all Kyopos, Korean students and Kyopos. So, and then yeah, that's how I did that. We'd always go to norebangs together and Korean restaurants and have samgyeopsal parties and all that stuff. And then went back in 2007, got married, taught English, and did that. And then I worked for a fishing tackle company over in Korea for about 3 or 4 years after teaching English for 5 years. And
nice.
Yeah, I was there for about 13 years in total.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was a good time. I really liked it there. It got frustrating after a long period of time, because when you're there, when you first get there, it's great. You get a lot of attention, and it's positive attention. It's not negative attention. It's positive attention, but it's attention. And after about 10 or 12 years, you just want to be left alone. You don't want little kids following you around in the convenience store screaming hello Moto and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think nowadays it's a little better, but there's still a lot of people that are used to seeing foreigners. And I heard on your other stream that you're 6'5".
Yeah, I'm real tall too. So
and yeah, you probably got a lot of followers, I guess, people looking at you.
Yeah, or in the subway too. It's a rough and tumble one, but no, I really like the culture. I mean, I still eat Korean food pretty much. My wife's Korean, obviously, so I speak Korean every day. I eat Korean food every day. I watch Korean TV most days, and
nice.
And so it's still a huge part of my daily thing, and that's really why, because I see a lot of Koreans in the chat at like We Are Tottenham TV or
I watch them too,
or Matt Hayes or even David's channel or Chris Collin or all those channels, but I never see him come on. And I think too that's why this show can be a little bit better, because for them when they're doing their shows at between 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's like 1 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning Korean time, whereas this is more like 1 in the afternoon till 4 o'clock in the afternoon Korean time. So
right,
I'd really like to have some people on, even if they don't speak English, because you could my speaking might be a little bit short, my listening is far better than my speaking. And even my speaking, if we were to get into a regular conversation, would be fairly good. So like my reading comprehension and my listening is far higher than my writing ability or my speaking ability. My speaking is good enough for, like, you could say, if you don't want me to sound like I couldn't talk like a science teacher, but if you want to talk about everyday stuff or sports or fishing or something like that, I can handle my own pretty good.
Yeah, and it's always that way when you learn a new language. You can read better than you can read and listen better than you can speak at first. And I heard you talk. Heard you speak in Korean at first when I think you were in your workout room. Like,
Yeah, on
was
the
your
We Are
very-
Tottenham TV channel.
Yeah,
When they
was it
were
your very
there's
first
people
appearance?
when there were people. It wasn't one, actually. That was one of my later ones, but
Oh.
they when there's a lot of Korean guys in the chat that were kind of like being a little rude.
Fighting.
See, that's the hard
Yeah.
part about it for me, is because they think that nobody else in there can read it except for fellow Koreans, right?
Right.
And that's the biggest thing that I guess it's because anytime I meet a Korean and they realize that I can speak Korean, they're always, shocked or amazed, just because they think of themselves as kind of a small country that
Right.
they spend a lot of time learning English, because not a lot of people are spending time learning Korean, so they're always a lot very, happy, or like I'll walk into a Korean
surprised.
walk into a Korean store and the old gentleman who works there or whatever, he is absolutely shocked, and then they want to hear my life story, where I live, that it's and that's great for small occasions. It's really happy, but every time I'd get into a taxi cab, and I'd have to ride a taxi, because taxis are super cheap in Korea, almost every day. And every time I get in the taxi, it was, where are you from? What do you do here? Can you teach me some English? And he'd run phrases by me. Whereas like most Korean people, as they get in the cab, they don't talk to the driver. They're like, 강남역에 가주세요, and then that's it, right? Like that's all that's all they do. But me, I have to have a full conversation with the driver every time I get in, and it does get
tiring.
Well, because I think I like to think of myself as a nice person, so I like to entertain and be a good ambassador for foreigners in Korea, because there are a lot of kind of shady ones too. So I always felt like that too. Like that was my cross to bear. Like because of all the negative aspects that people see with military guys or English teachers doing bad things, that I felt like I had to change the image or whatever. I felt like that was my responsibility. So I totally would love to go back, and visit and vacation, visit my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law and my wife's family. I don't know if I could live there for a long span of time anymore, because I just kind of feel like no matter how good your Korean is, or how much you embrace the culture, you're always going to be seen as a foreigner, right? Like, whereas here, you can be an American and not be European heritage, right? Where over there, it's like, even if you have Korean citizenship, if a person sees you, they're immediately going to call you a Wegukin, right? So that's not that they're not doing it to be mean. That's just because it's just, there's not a whole lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just opened up way too late, and it's definitely different than the US or some other countries with a lot of immigrants.
Yeah.
No, I enjoy listening to you. I think you talked about how you got into Spurs, and that's really similar to me. I really got into it when Son got there, so it's very similar. And I did have the same hatred for Lamela. Not anymore. I like the guy. He works hard, and he's not competing with Son anymore, so I don't really mind.
Same reasons.
Yeah, same reasons. But yeah, I think I got into it that way, and just fell in love, I guess. And the club is really, it's improving. It's gotten a lot better and like the way it's been competing for the Champions League and top 4 every year, high standard. I mean, Jose Mourinho coming here, even coming here, that was not possible a few years ago, maybe. So I think it's really cool. I feel like I saw like the peak, not the peak, but the rise of the club. And I think it can do better and more. I think we're definitely on the rise. But yeah, right now is a very interesting situation. I listen to you guys while I work, and yeah, I personally think we should give him a little more time, at least this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can judge him after that. But right now, I mean, what everybody says time and time again, like the same players that drove Pochettino out. It's not a coincidence when there are reports like every year, every 3 months, there are reports coming out. Somebody's not happy. Somebody did something in training. Manager's not happy. In the dressing room, chemistry is not good. So I think there's something to be said about the players. Maybe Jose's not doing everything perfectly, but I'm not sure how we can get a manager like him if we sack him. There's no other guy like him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see us replacing him with anyone necessarily better. But since you're here, since you probably, even though I do watch a lot of Korean channels as well, what's your take on Son and whether he's whether you think he'll stay or not, and or two, and how close or how far off the mark did you feel that I was with my commentary on that?
No, I think I said it in on the video, the comment. I think that was pretty much spot on. And I do think some of the guys that you were, the screenshots that you were using of the Korean YouTubers, I do think a lot of them use Son as clickbait. And I don't think there is much to it unless you really have a source. Like last year when we were talking about Kim Min-jae, the defender.
Yeah.
Everybody was saying, it's got to be true. The source is this reporter in Korea, and nothing came out of it. Maybe we were thinking about him, but we were in Milan for Skriniar. So he was maybe our third choice center back option. So you can't trust everything that's coming out of Korea or anywhere else if it's not a reliable source.
Well, yeah, I'm well aware of of what you can and can trust, but that's hard. But because that's the hard part about Korean headlines is that especially if you go to like Naver.com and you type in Son and you hit the news thing, and then it's like Yonhap Sports and everybody, as soon as something happens, it's like boom, the whole country blows up, right? So it's like it's really hard to find what's real and what's not, is because the clickbait from the YouTube guys, the major newspapers are doing the exact same thing, right? So that's the hard part that you got to sift through, and like a lot of them were using sources from Footy Insider, which isn't a very reliable source in UK, right? So, but what's funny is when you watch their videos, they play up Footy Insider as like being this amazing source in England, and it's really not. Like it's like if you watch Sim and Ben when they're on their thing, it's like, oh, what was the source for that? Footy Insider. Oh, never mind, right? Like it's
but I think there's something to be said though about the timing right now. He has 2 years left in his contract, like you said the other day, and right now, if I'm his father, or I think his father is the manager, agent, everything.
Yeah.
So I think if I'm his father and himself, just planning out the career, he is 28, about to be 29. This is his last big move. And I think he will be thinking, this is my last chance to be at the club, to be at a club where you can win a lot of things.
Is it really about winning a lot of things, or how big of a gap do you think the trophy gap is between Park Ji-sung and Son? Does that play into how Koreans view Son as a success or not? Does that play into it big, or is it more about the club that he plays for?
I think it does play a role, but I think it depends on who you talk to. But a lot of people will say, but he doesn't have a trophy. Park Ji-sung plays for United. He competed with Giggs, Ronaldo, Tevez, Rooney, and he was able to get playing time. And he won trophies and he contributed. So I think a lot of people do make that comparison. And I do think, this is my wild guess, but I think for that reason, Son is probably feeling the same. I think he's wanting that trophy. I think what you said the other day about people are being naive. People are saying, Son loves the club. He's always smiling and training. You're 100% right there. It does not mean he will not leave. I mean, he can leave. He will say something nice.
Yeah.
He will come out and say something like, that Instagram post that everybody does. I love this club. I really grew here, that kind of thing. But he will have no, he will leave. And I don't think he'll have a problem doing that. I don't think he will go to Chelsea, or he's not that type of guy. He went to Arsenal. So I do think it'll be one of the Manchester clubs, or La Liga, or something else. Bayern, maybe. Bayern was interested in him.
Yeah, that came out the other day. I mean, but as someone who lived in Korea too, and has a Korean wife, Korean kids, and been in Korean culture for a long time, even because you have Park Ji-sung's legacy, and I personally think the Son's a far better footballer than Park Ji-sung was. I mean, Park Ji-sung, granted, he wants to support Son. He would say the same thing himself, and he has several times.
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to see him be the first Korean to play for a top La Liga side, like Barcelona or Real Madrid. Because even if he went there and those teams didn't win a Champions League, say, I think that would, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of the Koreans that I know hold Barcelona and Real Madrid in the same high regard as, or even higher than Manchester United, right? So,
yeah, I think they're the top two mega clubs.
Yeah, in the world. Because I think if he went to Bayern Munich, it would almost feel like a step backwards. Even though he'd win a lot of trophies, I still think that he'd get a lot of push from people being like, well, it's Bundesliga. It's an easier league. It's not the same as Manchester United, right? The trophies don't mean as much. Whereas that even if he went to Barcelona, Real Madrid, even if he never won the Champions League but won a bunch of league trophies, people would still respect it as much. And so as a Son fan, I'd like him to, because it really made me mad after the 2018 Olympics when he caught so much hate from the Korean fan base over that. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people were blaming him, right?
Yeah. I mean,
and the team he plays on now is far, far different than the 2002 team. There was so much more talent on that 2002 team than there was on the 2018 team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's just so much he can do on the national team. He's like our opponents know that Son is the only, the most dangerous threat. So they double him, triple him. and the other players got to step up. But I think, like what you said, I think this generation right now is not as strong. We do have some players in Bundesliga, some other countries, but it's definitely
Italy.
Yeah, it's definitely not where it used to be, you know. So
Yeah.
I think he gets a lot of hate, but there's nothing you can do when, the Mexico goal, you know, you can't do that every game. And he's capable of doing that. There's not many players in the world that can do that, left foot, right foot, outside. But you can't do that every day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And plus, he's only one man, right?
Yeah,
And to see him, like with that goal against Germany, right? Even
yeah,
though it wasn't going to put you guys through, he still ran through the entire team at the and put it in the back of the net. And I just feel bad for him because, if there were, which I think Korea has some good players, but it's a completely different level than playing at Tottenham, right? And I think that they see him playing at Tottenham week in and week out. It's a lot easier because back when I was there in 2003, 2004, it wasn't as easy to watch, European football matches in Korea as it is now, right?
mhm,
They didn't have IPTV with, OCN and all these different other networks playing games that late, you can watch Serie A, you can watch EPL, you can watch, anything that you want to watch now. And if you don't watch it on TV, you can watch it on your, your cell phone or your computer. But I just think that it's, I think that Spurs fans that think the Sun is going to stay have to realize, one, it's going to take a lot of money and/or them committing to bring in a lot of people to get Sun to stay there more than 1 year. And honestly, if you're going to sell Sun, I don't want to see Sun, as a Spurs fan as well, I don't want to see Sun go because I don't think there's a better left winger in the league than him right now. Sadio Mane has been pretty poor this year.
mhm.
So I can't think of a left winger that's better, to be honest with you, off the top of my head.
Not this season. Sterling
Yeah.
and Mane have been pretty good.
Yeah, in the past, Sterling and Monty, but this season, Sun's, been on a different level. This is probably the year that you're going to get the most money for him because if he only has 1 year left on his contract,
Yeah,
you're not going to get that
1,000%.
much.
Yeah.
So,
And he'll be 29, 30 next year.
yeah, I think he's still in pretty good shape. He's had a pretty good injury record, so he tends to bounce back pretty quick, which is amazing compared to how much his dad works him. The training level. And and how late do you think he's going to want to play? How long do you think he's going to? I know he loves the game, but not being able to get married until you're done playing, and
Right.
it's
It's hard to tell.
I don't think people understand the cultural pressure too. Like people just say, well, if he wants to get married, he can just tell his dad to forget it. Well, that's not how Koreans work.
Yeah, no, that's not with.
You could be, yeah. You
If
could be
you watch
28
the
years old and your
documentary.
dad would grab a stick and whack the snot out of you if you didn't do what he told you to do, right? So
Yeah, if people watch the Son documentary that came out last year, then they'll understand. There's no way he can do anything that his dad is opposed to. But I think he likes playing himself as well. So I don't know when that passion will be gone. It's different for every player. Park Ji-sung, like he accomplished everything at United, right? So he went to PSV for Queens Park Rangers for a couple of years, then PSV where he started for a couple of years. It's a little different. But Son, I feel like he'll be chasing as hard as he can until he gets it, and then maybe he'll call it a career. It's hard to tell right now.
And Park Ji-sung got lucky too, because he was at Man United at the right time, right? He came into that right at the right time. If he would have come in 5 years earlier or 5 years later, he wouldn't have had, 16, 17 trophies to call his own. So
that's the peak.
yeah, that was right at, peak bigger things. And Mexico Spurs SC, I don't know if Kane would be a bigger loss, my friend. I really don't. I think people misrepresent what Son brings and how dangerous he is, and how his runs in behind open up and free space for Kane. I don't think Kane would have half the opportunities, or near as many, and probably not. He'd probably have more than half, but not near as many opportunities to score or assist, because there's no one else really that makes the runs like Son does. If you notice, I think the reason why Son and Kane have paired up more than anyone else this year is because there's no one else to play to. That's sad, but
yeah,
Kane's not getting many assists when Son's not there, and Son's not getting many assists or goals when Kane's not there. So, and that's what I think people have missed. Like, even that's when Kane was out, and people are like, "Well, Son hasn't really scored a whole lot." Well, that's because he didn't have anybody to play with, right? You can't play by yourself. You have to have somebody feeding you the ball. Whereas when Kane was out the previous years, he had Eriksen in there to help feed him stuff. You know what I mean? So
Eriksen was huge for Spurs for the entire time he was here, obviously. But I think he was more than just. I think I saw a picture on Instagram. Like, Eriksen was third in the assist, and second in the chances created, or something like that, in the past decade. I think it was a decade. That's just how good he was, and just the way he controlled the game, the pace. Him and Musa Dembele together. So
yeah.
Obviously we don't have that. It's a little different dynamics right now with Højbjerg. But yeah, what you said about attacking partnership, I do think also the other side, the right side, Mora, Bergwijn, I feel like we were one or two players away from really doing big things this year. Things were going really well, but we already knew Kane and Son numbers were not sustainable, so somebody else needed to step up. And I think big clubs have that. I think City has that. Some other clubs have that. You can say Chelsea, but we just don't have. They don't bring enough attacking threat. Bergwijn, Mora, Lamela. I know, like, a lot of people say they run hard, they bring something to the team, but I mean, if you want to win the league, you have to do more than that, unfortunately.
Got to score goals.
Right. So I feel like we were one or two players away in the attacking third as well, not just defender. People say defending has been horrible, and it has all the mistakes and stuff, but I think attacking too, we could have used another winger.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's why I've been pushing that right winger thing so hard, is because,
right.
You got teams like Liverpool and City where their front three or four, you have 3 or 4 guys that are scoring 10 plus goals a season, where it's like we have Son and Kane and that's it.
Yeah, and if one of them has a bad game, then we don't have anything. So it's been tough.
Makes me, like, at City, I think you got Sterling that's close to double digits in goals. Gundogan is in double digits. De Bruyne's in double digits, or close to double digits. Mahrez is close. Foden has got 4 or 5.
Jesus.
I don't think Jesus has that many. He might. I don't remember. I haven't looked, but
yeah,
I haven't played him in fantasy, so I don't really look at his. I haven't looked at his goal contributions. But yeah, for us, it's like Kane, Son, and then down the list, you got, like, Gareth Bale has 5, and then somebody else down the list has 3, and that's it. That's it. It's like one here, one there, one here, one there, one here, one there. We don't have 3 or 4 players that are scoring, 8+ goals this season, and that's the real killer. And that's why I think people are missing it. I think they're relying on Son and Kane too much, and I think you might see one of them leave this summer, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, and I think if one of them goes, then I do hope we get 3 good players, at least 2 or 3 really good players. I don't want to see 5 players, what we did this year. A lot of squad players, rotation players. I don't think that's what we need. I mean, we need it, but we need a star player first.
We need like an 18-19 Liverpool transfer window where it's like, Van Dijk and Allison. That's it, right?
That's ideal. Yeah, and I think somebody said that maybe it was you, but I mean, when players come, they bring other stuff too, like leadership skills and mentality. I think Højbjerg did. He's Bayern product, and he has good mentality. You can see that in his interviews, and the way he talks. Like he I think you were talking about like yelling at the game, right? So Højbjerg is the other one that does that, other than Hart. But I think we need more star players than. We need star players that can bring more than just the game.
Nope, I agree with you 100%.
But Will, I think I gotta hop off. Nice talking to you, and
thanks for coming on, David. I appreciate it. Come on more often, because I'd like to get your like to hear the Korean side of the opinion a lot more often. So
sure, yeah. Whenever you have Son or Lamela debate, I do have a lot to say about Lamela as well. So
all right, good deal, man. Come on and back me up. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye, Will.
Yep. Bye-bye. All right, guys. That was great. I'm glad to have David on. It's always good to hear that you got it, that you got support from, even though he's in California, from people with different backgrounds, especially one that feels familiar to me and myself. You could say that even though I'm not, ethnically Korean, that I'm at least, a good 35-40% Korean based on day-to-day activities. So, but yeah, let me catch up in the chat here. Or if you ask a question and you want me to do it again. Son's not as complete player as Kane. They play 2 different positions. I think as far as left winger is concerned, Son's about as complete as you're going to get on the left wing. Korean at heart, half at heart. I'm proud to be an American, but I also really enjoy Korea, as that's makes up 50% of my children's ethnicity, and also, I guess you could say, my family. In my day-to-day life, it's nakjibokum and kimbap and bokumbap and all kinds of stuff. So it's a big part of my day-to-day. I watch Korean dramas as much as I watch regular shows. But yeah, guys, 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm going to call this one short a little, unless anybody wants to jump in. This is your last chance. If you jump in, I'll stay on. But I think I'm going to cut this one off right around the 2.5 hour mark, simply because I'm actually kind of tired. I don't know why. I am actually kind of tired, but we still have 20 folks watching. We do have our guy on Twitch there. If you're watching on Twitch, please throw in a comment and let us know who you are. If you would be so kind to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. It helps us out a bunch here at the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. You're able to do it for free. All it means is that this content, if you like it, can get out to other folks. And thank you for the big support we've had, man. I'm telling you what, I think tomorrow is my 2-week anniversary. We're already up to like 171 subscribers the last time I checked, with like over 3,000 or 4,000 views and hundreds, almost 1,000 watch hours already. So you guys are absolutely amazing. I couldn't even imagine that this would happen, but yeah, it's been great. Kane is more creative than Son, a better passer and a better defender. Defender, probably. I would say that. Yeah. Yeah. I would say that Son is probably equally as clinical as Kane. And I would say Son's a little bit better on the ball, right? Better dribbler. But that's what makes a good teammate, team company. You got to have different people with different strengths. Right. Harry Kane's not much of a dribbler. Speed's a little bit lacking. He can be a little unclinical at times. So can Son too. But I think they make up great players. Right? And right now it's all we've got. But don't get me wrong, I like Kane just as much. Your perspective is important, Will. This world is interconnected pandemic. What I love about this game is that it transcends borders. And when the WC comes, safest form of nationalism. Yeah. Great work at WillStewartTHFCRants. See you on multiple platforms during the week. Keep it. Oh, yeah. Before I go, I think I'm going on David's. I'll be on Bobspur TV tomorrow at around 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're doing a show about media. It'll be the first time that I'm on with Bobspur. I think Brian Daigle is going to be on that show as well. So if you're up at around 3:30 p.m. tomorrow, make sure you go ahead and check that out. And then I think I'm going to be on the Irish Hotspurs channel tomorrow after that, almost right after that. So I'll be on 2 streams tomorrow. Make sure you guys check those out. After I go onto the show with Bob Spur, I like to link all the channels that have me on. If you go to the main page at the bottom, there's a section that says other shows that I've been on or other channels that I've appeared on. And support those channels because they're supporting me, which helps support this. But I'm pretty sure all of you guys already support those anyway because we all have the same. We're all part of the same group, right? So it's not like I have thousands of subscribers that you guys don't subscribe to. But thank you, my friend, Mexico Spurs SC. Unbeatable shows. Yeah, I think they're pretty good, dude. And they usually last pretty long. And it doesn't really even feel like work, to be honest with you. Without each other sending Kane's stats this season, I agree 100%, man. If you look at Kane's stats, when Son's out, they're not very good. And when Kane's out, Son's stats aren't very good. That's the problem, is that we need more creative attacking players. Yeah, my Spurs story will be coming out. We filmed that. When did we film that? Tuesday? Monday. So I don't know how many he's got lined up or how often he releases those, but it'll be up. And then, yep, thank you. Big up, lads. I love to follow Bob and David's streams tomorrow. Get after Will. So excited for your story. Thank you very much. Well, did you see the death of Claude? Yeah, I did. And it's pretty sad. You know, I think Claude has dealt with some. I watched Robbie's kind of video on that, and you have to say that people are different, right? Some people have thick skin and it doesn't get to them, and then some people it really does get to them. And I think that too, especially since he's a bit older, and I know that it's not an excuse, and I know it's 2021 and people have to be careful about what they say, but I think getting kind of canceled off of the AFTV, I think it probably hurt him more than people want to admit. And then when people were still, and I don't think that he was mad at Robbie and them guys for doing it. I think he kind of understood the reason why. But then when other people out in the Twitter sphere and the, just the YouTube area, the commenters, the trolls and stuff like that. You can ask Will Mito. I was on another channel doing a debate about something completely unrelated to Spurs, and the visceral hate that I received in the comment section was pretty surprising. But it's just people who disagree with you, and they just want to try to get. It doesn't bug me. I'm kind of like, sticks. I'm the sticks and stones type of guy. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But words do hurt some people. Some people, words hurt them more than sticks and stones. So I know some people that would rather be beat than have someone say bad things about them. But yeah, I think it's just sad when anytime somebody decides that it's time for them to go and they take that option that way. I think it's pretty sad. So if any of you are ever out there and you feel like that's the only option you've got, like DM me on Instagram or something, or DM me on Twitter and talk to somebody, because you're never in such a low place that that's your only option. So I would just say, reach out to somebody, tell them what you're feeling, talk through it. You're never too cool to talk to somebody about how you feel. You're never in too bad of a spot to have to choose to do that. And it's tough. And I just wish. And not only that, it's hard on your family. It's even harder on your family. If it's a health reason or an accident or something like that, then that's I guess you could say maybe a little bit easier, even though it's still hard to get over. It's a little bit easier than that, because when I've had friends that have done that, or people that I knew, or people that work for the company, and I think that you almost kind of, it ended up making you feel a little bit responsible, and it makes it harder to get over. It's like, what could I have done? What could I have said that changed that stopped that from happening? But yeah, it's rough, and I wish the best to his family. The AFTV guys, I feel for them. They're probably hurting pretty bad right now. I'm sure some of them, even though it's 100% not their fault, a million times not their fault, I'd be willing to say that there's a lot of people that feel responsible, even though they shouldn't. And I hope that people reach out and do all that stuff. Do you think social media companies need to step up more? I think that social media companies need to give people the option to turn off comments more. Right. And that way, because I like to leave mine open. I like people to have the ability to, say what they want to say. I'm a libertarian, so I believe in free expression and all that stuff, the good and the bad. But that's a different between, I think, harassing, and I think it has to be judged by the person, and that's what makes it tough. But I think you should just make, if it hurts you, just be able to hit a button and just make it all disappear, right? Right. It could still be there for everyone else to see, but boom, I just don't want to see it. And there's got to be a way to do that, and I think that makes it easier for everybody, or let people opt in or opt out. Great stream, great people. We're all in big family here. We always reach out for someone and never think that you're worthless. Absolutely, 100%, man. 10,000 brilliant percent. You know, if anybody ever feels like that's the only way out, don't hesitate to DM me on Twitter, because there's always a way out. Yeah, and too, I mean, that's what can be hard, man. It's been hard for me, right? It's been hard for my kids. You know, luckily the oldest one has had, you know, the outlet of being able to play sports, but my youngest one, I think right after COVID, just because nobody was going anywhere, nothing was open, I don't think he left the house for almost a year. Seriously. Not quite a year, but probably about 8 months. He never left the house, my 9-year-old. Because he wasn't really involved in any extracurricular activities. You know, my middle son, he plays piano. The oldest one plays, you know, football and then soccer. The other one, by football I mean soccer. Not I don't like the S word, but yeah. But my youngest, it's been tough on a lot of people. Yeah, always reach out. Yeah. Lean on a friend. Love to love. It's very unfortunate you see how not only Arsenal fans but people around the footballing world really appreciate his content. I always love to watch Claude, especially the Claude and the Ty stuff. Like, I give Ty a hard time too, but nothing ever cruel. Maybe I shouldn't. It makes you feel bad. But like, it's me. Like, if there's anybody out there in the Twitterverse, you could never say something bad enough to make me feel bad. You really couldn't. I have such thick skin. It's not even funny. So if you want to banter me, that's fine. If you talk about my wife and kids, though, I might find you. But if you want to talk about me, feel free. You know, and I think like guys like DT and Troops are probably the same way. But you never know what words hurt somebody and what words don't. And I don't think that it's necessarily 100% the things that are on social media, the comments that were made. I don't think it helped, but I think for him, the isolation, you know, getting off the show, the comments, you know, I think it's, you know, like, it's just the things just keep stacking on top of each other, right? Could be family relationship with his kids. You know, you just never know. Yes, he is. Mexican Spurs Supporters Club is a legend. And everybody's showing the love to each other. I like it. Men traditionally aren't good at opening up. Yeah. I'm pretty. Yes. You could definitely get some John Wick vibes. Did you see the change? Did you see the change in the face? The what's that movie with Liam Neeson? What's that movie called? What's that movie called? Put it in the chat. I know there's a delay, but kidnap. It's not called Kidnapped, is it? But anyway, yeah. I'd find you. Taken. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Full. Thank you, Full. Yeah, too many keyboard warriors around. Too many people want to say bad things about people. I try to keep my stuff to myself, but emotions are tough to fight alone. So much darkness in the world going on in that effect. Mental health is crazy. Yeah, I know it's that's why you don't want to burn bridges, man. I try not to burn bridges with people. Yes, Taken's correct. I try not to burn bridges with people because when you, I don't really look like, I don't think I look like Chuck Norris, maybe a little bit, but you guys know that just my beard is red, right? My actual hair color is black or dark brown. I just have I have a ginger beard, just a red beard. So, yeah, if I were to grow my hair out, I shave my head most of the time. I can never figure out what side of my head things are on, but the hair up there, you can see it starts to get darker right there. It's a dark brown color on top when I don't shave my head. But yeah, guys. Anyway, thanks for joining in the show tonight. Claude, man, prayers to your family. Hope everything goes well for them. I hope they don't feel too broken by it. But yeah. Anyway, rest in peace, Claude. Hope everything's going well. And everybody out there in YouTube world, stay strong. Stay Spurs. Have a great night. We will see you live Saturday night for our Newcastle pre-match. And yeah, I think that we're going to try to we'll be live Saturday night and Sunday night probably. Those will be on next streams. They seem to be a lot more people from overseas can get on because it's on the weekend and stuff like that. But don't forget, stay strong, stay Spurs, and we'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go now.